Hey, sugar. Now, don't adjust your device. You are in the right place. This is A Balanced Life, and I am your host, Dr. Tierney, sitting in for Dr. Jacquie. And sugar, we have an amazing episode for you. Today, we are talking about creating your next. What does that even mean? How do you begin to do it? And what are some of the steps you need to consider before embarking on your next? Today, sugar, we are joined by our heavy hitters, okay? We have Dr. Stacey Owens, Dr. Aaron Bishop, and our financial expert, Pamela Sams. Come on in, everybody. All right, everybody. How everybody doing today?
Good morning.
Hello. Amazing. I love to hear it. Okay, so we are talking about creating your next. And when we think about creating your next, that can be a broad topic that can take on so many definitions. So to start this conversation, let's talk about what it means when someone says, I'm creating my next, or I'm looking forward to next. So anyone jump in and just tell us, what does it mean to create your next?
I think for me, creating my next would be I'm ready to evolve to something else, or to expand on what I'm already doing or to do something different. It's just, what is it that you want to do that's going to personally grow you to, being what you're walking in your purpose of what you want to be.
Yeah, you just said a key word there, purpose. Next and purpose. That purpose word, that's a buzzword right there. How do you define next?
Well, I would just tell you, Dr. T, that doing your next is actually doing your now. When you look at next being your now, it really means no opportunity wasted. N-O-W, no opportunity wasted. And so when you start looking at opportunities that are in front of you, don't look for the perfect condition to do your next, because it's a perfect time to do it now. And if you start looking for perfection or the perfect condition, it'll cause a delay. So what I'm telling everyone is the urgency of now is actually producing your next.
Dr. Bishop, that was so good. And we're going to talk more about that next being your now, because that needs a whole space to breathe just right there on its own. One of the things that I think about when we're talking about defining what's next, a lot of times we don't know when it's time to step into or start creating our next. Have you guys noticed that sometimes we can get so stuck with where we are right now that we don't know it's time to create our next? Have you guys noticed that any?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think it's that saying that you never move until God nudges you. I mean, that's what happens. Sometimes you get too comfortable and you're just stuck with where you are. But, the next step is really, what is your next act? What do you want to achieve with that? But sometimes you get stuck in the same old, and, the things that are going on now with, unfortunately, layoffs and things like that, maybe that is the nudge for people to move and really explore what that next may be. But sometimes we get too comfortable and we just don't move on.
Absolutely. So in thinking about that, come on, Stacey.
I was going to agree with Pam, because a lot of times when you're stuck and you're working on something and things are just not going right, or the same lessons just keep showing up with different people and things just keep cycling back around, and it's just, you're trying to force yourself to make something work. I think if you get to that space where you're forcing what you're doing to happen or to stay above ground or whatever, that's sort of like a sign to say, well, what else? How can I repurpose this? How can I look and make some adjustments? And I think those adjustments will lead you to your next as well.
I got to jump in here because I think we're going somewhere with this conversation. Because when I look at what challenges you actually changes you, right? And so if things are mundane or they constantly being rehearsed and routine, then you need to have some rigor to change some things in your life. And those are the challenges, right? Because if we look at where we are in the climate and the culture of our world, many people resist change. They resist the challenge. Well, that's where the next will become your now. I remember my sister or my cousin, it was my sister who told me that a lot of people are afraid to go and get the fruit of their life because the fruit is actually out on the limb. The fruit is never in the root or the trunk. Although it grows from there, you have to literally be able to stretch yourself or go the distance if you want to see the change, if you want to see the fruit of your life. And the other thing I share with you is there's a story that Congressman Clyburn shared with me. He said that when we look at the tortoise and the hare, who won the race, it was actually the turtle, right? Or the tortoise. The hare didn't win because the hare or the bunny went to sleep. The rabbit went to sleep, but it was the tortoise who kept steady going back and back. I mean, going forward and forward. And here's why I say that. He said that in order to make progress, sometimes you got to stick your neck out. The tortoise never makes progress unless it sticks its neck out. If you want to make change or you want to see your next become your now, sometimes you just got to change something. You got to do something different. And that may take courage to challenge yourself.
So just do it.
Yeah, exactly. I want to add to Dr. Bishop is that, you got to stick your neck out there. And they say, that the joy or, nothing happens outside of your comfort zone. You have to leave that comfort zone in order to make things happen. So, with creating your next is that we got to get out of that comfort zone, because if we stay there, like Dr. Bishop said, the fruits are outside of there. So we really need to get outside of our comfort zone and not keep doing the same thing over and over and not getting the results that you want, or complaining about nothing's getting better. It's outside of that comfort zone, sticking your neck out to get to that next step.
Doing
the only way you're going to get out of your comfort zone is to not be overcome with fear as well. So you got to start working on that mind garbage, that I like to call it. Work on those negative thoughts that come across your mind, work on your beliefs that you have over your time, over money, over love, all that kind of stuff. Because mindset is everything. You got to prepare your mind first so you can operate when you're outside of your comfort zone and not get stuck in that, forced to go back to what you're used to.
Guys, Sugar, I hope you see that we going in. We only a few minutes into this episode, and we are going in already. You have to combat the fear. You have to step outside of your comfort zone. And that's something that I teach my clients a lot, of getting outside of that comfort zone, because a lot of time we get stuck and don't step into our next because of exactly what we just said. We get into that comfort zone. Things are so comfortable here. I don't want to step outside of that. But I love what you said, Dr. Bishop, that challenge is what really changes you. When we get uncomfortable, that's when it's usually a sign that we need to step into our next. Now, what are some of the just kind of practical, if you are seeing this, then it might be a sign that it's time for you to start creating your next.
Yeah, I think you have to definitely give yourself permission to leap. We know that fear is an acronym. It says face everything and rise, right? Mm-hmm. Or also fear is an acronym for false evidence appearing real. And LEAP is actually an acronym to let everything activate purposely. So when we look at yourself permission to leap, you got to be willing to go out there and do what you know you can do. And then also figure out, what haven't I done, right? Because there are things that I believe you can accomplish if you just get over that fear, if you literally challenge yourself. I know personally, I have done some things that many teachers of my life told me I wasn't going to be able to do, like get a PhD, right? And getting a PhD was a moment of discovery. And so when you give yourself permission to leap, you're going to discover how far you can go, how far you can leap. But you got to let everything activate purposely. You got to let it be what the scripture says, let all things work together for the good of those who love the Lord, who are called according to his purpose. There's a purpose in your challenge because it will change you.
That is so good. Leap. What did you say? Let everything activate purposefully. Oh, I love that. I love that. I love that. Anyone ready to take the leap?
I love that acronym. I hadn't heard that. I'm going to write it down. I'm going to share it all over the place. But with that leap, I'm a planner. So you have to have a game plan if you're going to leap out there too, in terms of what that is going to look like. And if it has any financial implications, really having a strategy and a game plan. You just don't want to be out there leaping and not have a strategy because, that you're not going to be successful. So really, what does that leap look like? And what do I need to do in order to financially take that leap and make a game plan for it?
Yeah, I would agree. I'm a goal setter as well. So I constantly set a goal for myself. And if I accomplish that goal, get close enough to that goal, I'm always visualizing my next. How can I expand on this? So I take risks though. I do leap, but I leap on a goal.
Same planner. I'm right there with you. I am right there with you. So I hate to do this because we are on a roll, Sugar, but we have to take a quick break. All right. And when we come back, we're going to pick up with something that Dr. Bishop said earlier about how your next is now after the break.
We begin tonight with the people who are really running the country right now. Now, Trump is often wrong and misleading about a lot of things, but especially about history. Donald Trump falling in line with President Elon Musk.
In the wake of the unsettling news that MSNBC has canceled Joy Ann Reid's primetime show, The Readout, Roland Martin and the Black Star Network would like to extend an invitation to all of the fans of Joy Ann Reid's MSNBC show to join us every night to watch Roland Martin Unfiltered, streaming on the Black Star Network for news, discussion of the issues that matter to you, and the latest updates on the twice impeached, criminally convicted felon-in-chief Donald Trump and his unprecedented assault on democracy, as well as co-president Elon Musk's takeover of the federal government. The Black Star Network stands with Joy Ann Reid and all folks who understand the power of Black voices in media. We must come together and never forget that information is power. Be sure to watch Roland Martin Unfiltered weeknights, 6 p.m. Eastern at youtube.com/Roland S. Martin or download the Black Star Network app.
Welcome back, Sugar. Okay, so one of the things that I teach my clients is that your next is now. A lot of the times we get so focused on creating our next that we forget about what's happening now. And what you do, be clear, what you do now impacts your next. And with that thought in mind, let's have a conversation about what we should be doing or thinking about now that will help us create our next. Come on back in, everybody. So before we went to break, we started talking about us planners, that we like to have a plan and we like to try to plan what's happening now to create our next. So let's pick up there and let's just weigh in on what else should we be doing or thinking that will help us to begin making sure that our now is helping to create the next that we want to see.
Yeah, well, I think it's a matter of really, a lot of times people go, I'm gonna, and they never do. And so it is in that now that what is that next gonna look like and starting to design it now so you can make that leap. Instead of going, I'm gonna do this one day, someday, I'm gonna, and you never make that move. So you have to start doing, again, the plan now on what that next is gonna look like.
Yeah, I think that is one of the greatest mistakes is that people are waiting for that perfect time, waiting for my money to not be funny, waiting for, my family to get this way or waiting for, and you're just waiting. Where I would say start looking within, like everything you need, you already have it within you. So determine what your skills are, and then take those skills and determine what you want to do with your skill set. And that's when you start setting those goals and start visualizing what that end result look like. For me, I'm always thinking about, if I accomplish this, what is it going to look like for me in the end? What is it going to look like, sound like, feel like? I'm always drawing plans of what I want. Do I want this car? What is it going to take for me to get this car? Do I want this? Set those personal goals, financial goals, business goals, set all kind of goals you want, and then say, how is my skill set going to help me get there? And then just start doing it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I love what she's saying, Dr. T, because, I dream in high definition. I don't have the black and white in my head, right? When I look at the black and white, it's pretty structured, right? Because when you look at how dreams and plans are, I stretch my thinking, I stretch my dreams to believe beyond what I think I'm currently doing. Because yes, my next is now, but I'm really trying to consider, what does dreaming really look like? And so think about how you literally call out a word and a picture jumps in your head. So if I say a cat, you don't see C-A-T in your head. If I say car, you don't see the word C-A-R. You see a dream, you see a vision, you see something that you are affiliated with. And so the adventurous thinking that I have tries to make sure that dream has color, it has sound, I can smell it. So therefore, I think it through. So when I do experience my next, which is now, I'm in that experience, right? Because that's what planning really is. And when you're looking at how you are occupied with this one thing, thinking about your next starts to make you think about that second thing. And with fidelity to your first responsibility, you still want to kind of have the adventure of what will be your next. And dream it out loud. Tell other people about it. I have a circle of friends that I bounce my dreams off of. And some of them will tell me that's crazy. But some of them tell me, man, that's achievable. And I would love to help. You'll be interested to know how many people would like to be in your next, would like to be a part of your now. To come to fruition. That's how they become manifested. So, that's some things I want to share with people, that, hey, get around other dream catchers or dream merchants who will allow you to dream bigger than you ever dreamed for yourself.
I agree with you with that now. And when you are starting to surround yourself or create the community of like-minded people, make sure you also seek those people who are already where you're trying to go, so that when you're sharing those ideas and you're having those conversations, they've already done it. So they can give you lots of advice, conversations, feedback that works. So make sure as you're building that network, that you can make sure you're putting people in your network that you can seek some guidance from as well.
Yeah, a couple of things I want to add there. You talked about, Dr. Bishop dreaming big and sharing, is that you want to make sure you're around the right people. You don't want dream crushers either. Is that when you're trying to go to that next, you don't need people like you can't, why, whatever the case may be. You don't need those people. You want to be in a definitely like-minded circle with that if you're going to share. The other thing about that is that if you are envisioning in and now, that's what I work with my clients, and kind of, imagine a future where your money's right. You got this, you got all of the things that you want to desire, and really write it out. Like you said, in living color. What does it look like? What does it smell like? What does it feel like? What are you doing? And I write that out in terms of their goals when I'm helping them with their financial plan. It's because it becomes tangible in the now. Imagine a day when this happens, the things that you do now will accomplish what you want to achieve in the future.
Yeah, that is so good. And what I hear all of you saying is basically, when we're talking about dreaming in high definition, it's making your next your now. So I can feel it. I may not be able to touch it, but I can touch it, and something that I always say, we see it before we see it. I can see that thing with my eyes closed. And this is where we start talking about vision. Vision is what you see when your eyes are closed. Sight is what you see when your eyes are open. And so what each of you are really talking about is having a vision, being able to see that thing with your eyes closed, even before you're able to see that thing in front of you and reach out and touch it. Something else that you guys said is making sure that you have the people who have a shared vision around you. Can they also see it when their eyes are closed? And all of that is important when we're talking about the next being. Now, something else that and I want us to weigh in here. It's important that we are able to have our eyes closed and open, because if we're too far in the present, we may miss the place where we need to pivot here. A few weeks ago, we talked about, pivoting. And so sometimes we may write out our plan. And let me just call myself to the front of the class, because this is one that the Lord has had to slap my wrist on several times, where I will have my plan, I will have my strategy, I will have it all laid out. And then God will throw a nice curveball and just, I thought we was going to the right. And now why is everything going to the left? And sometimes that can throw us off to where we think that we're not going towards our next, but we just merely have to pivot. Have any of you kind of experienced that or been with clients where some of those experiences have happened, where you had to pivot in order to stay on track to your next? Absolutely. And I'll tell you that the only time success comes before work is in the dictionary. It's going to work. It's going to be work. Whatever you're trying to do, just know that in order for the dream work, you got to work the dream. And those challenges will come and go, but guess what? You'll still be here, because tough times never outlast tough people. I will tell you this as well, that I've taught every one of my mentees and people that I coach up, if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. Mm-hmm. And the truth about life is, guess what? If you have a spirit of readiness, you can start before you're ready, right? Because when you start, you don't face paralysis anymore. You are looking towards progression. How many times have I said it's about the windshield, not the rear view? Rear view always makes you reflect and retreat and return back to your routines. But if you are going forward without paralysis and you're not always waiting for the right time to get ready, you're going to be faced with headwinds. You're going to be faced with challenges. But guess what? Let it change you. Some things are going to challenge you because you need course correction. I'm reminded of the story of the donkey that spoke to Balaam. I think it was Balaam in the Bible. Mm-hmm. Every time he spoke to Balaam, he was really telling him, I'm not going that way because that's the wrong place to go. That's the wrong direction to go. There'll be things in your life that will help you have course correction. That'll help you go to the right path. But that's why it's part of your readiness. It's going to make you ready. And therefore, when you come through it, you can tell other people how you made it out the wilderness, how you made it through the storms. Because the truth about storms is they only last as much as they have water. And every storm will run out of water. Just survive the storms and maybe even dance in the rain. Just keep moving forward through the challenges. And guess what? It's going to make you better.
I'll add to that too. I had to learn how to fail and fail fast. Like your strength comes in the lessons from failure. So as long as if you're planning something and it doesn't go right and you fail at it, just think about what went wrong. How can I do it differently? Use that feedback to make adjustments. Just don't stop, So everything that the bishop said is correct. Just don't let it paralyze you. Fail fast, get used to it, keep growing. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh, sugar, I hate to do this to us again. We have to take another break. But when we come back, we are going to pick up the conversation and talk about the fails, the things that we don't want to talk about. How do we fail fast, and keep going to creating our next?
up next after the break.
Hey y'all, welcome to The Other Side of Change, only on the Black Star Network and hosted by myself, Bria Baker, and my good sis, Jamira Burley. We are just two millennial women tackling everything at the intersection of politics, gender, and pop culture.
And we don't just settle for commentary. This is about solution-driven dialogue to get us to the world as it could be and not just as it is.
Watch us on the Black Star Network, so tune in to The Other Side of Change.
Welcome back, sugar. Okay, so here's the thing. When we're talking about creating our next, it usually involves doing something new, right? That's what makes it your next, because it's something that you've never done before. Well, anytime we're doing something for the first time or we're doing something new, 9 times out of 10, we're going to make some mistakes, okay? We're going to mess some things up and we're going to fail, all right? So you just heard Stacey say we need to learn how to fail fast, okay? But what are some of the common mistakes that we often make when we are creating our next, so that we can go ahead and get them out there, so that when our viewers make these mistakes, they won't become paralyzed by them. They'll know, oh, that's normal. Oh, okay, well, that's usually what happens, is par for the course. Talk to me about what are some of the common mistakes that we see when someone is creating their next.
Well, I think it's a matter of really trying to figure out, it's again, that fear of failure is a big thing. That's why people don't pivot or leap or do what they need to for that next step, is because of the fear of failure. But you're learning. If you start a business for the first time, they said in the first probably 3 to 5 years, you're probably not going to make a profit. But that doesn't mean that you're not going to continue down that track and learn from the mistakes as you go along. Maybe I didn't have enough financing. Maybe I didn't market right. Maybe I didn't have the right people around me. Maybe I didn't have the right staff. Pick out the things that went wrong and learn from those failures as you go along. I remember a conference I went to years ago, Sarah Blakely, it was Spanx. She would say that in her family, with her dad and her parents, that was kind of the thing at the dinner table. What did you fail at today? What did you learn from that failure? And then you move forward from there. So that's why, you're going to make mistakes and you're going to trample along. As they say, a kid, when they first learn how to walk, they fall down several times. That doesn't mean that they're ever going to walk in their lives because they took that first step and they failed. They get up, they keep going, but you need to learn how to do it after and pointing out those mistakes.
Yeah, that's so good. That is so good.
I would say also seeking guidance, so you failed, you analyzed your mistake, don't get up and do it the same way. You got to really reflect, find somebody that you can seek some self-help from, or read something about what you failed on, or find a book that you can read to help you improve on, take a class, or go seek some guidance, just looking outside of your circles of yourself so that, you can grow from what you made your mistake from.
Yeah, that's really good, Stacey, because a lot of times the mistake that I see from a coaching perspective is that when we quote unquote fail, or we don't get it right, or we miss the mark, what we do is we hide. Mm-hmm. We don't bring that thing to a coach or to a mentor or someone who is doing what it is that you want to do and say, hey, I went bankrupt, or my business didn't jump off, or this isn't where it needs to be, or whatever that thing is that you are walking in to create your next. We hide it, and then our pride gets in the way. So I think that's a big mistake. When we're creating our next, our pride will get in the way, and pride really doesn't have a place when we are trying to create our next. Dr. Bishop, I see you nodding and shaking. So come on, what you want to weigh in? Come on in. Come on. What you gonna say?
My sister said we need to fail fast. I also think you need to fail forward. Mm-hmm. And when you fail, you fall forward, right? Because failure is part of life. We all fall. We all fail. Understand that there will be some scar tissue once you get up. And what I love about the scar tissue is that it's just part of my battle wounds. And you know, the things I went through that made me battle tested as a entrepreneur, as a faith leader, as an elected official, as a father, as a husband, I show those wounds. I let people know, yeah, I got scarred on my journey to my next, right? But guess what? I'm still here. It didn't kill me. It didn't break me. I remember, speaking of breaking, I was a breakdancer in the 80s. Anybody remember those days?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to laugh that hard, Dr.
I mean, come on. I'm just over here telling you about Beat Street and breaking, right? Mm-hmm. And I had to learn this move. I really wanted to learn this move because I was part of the breakdancing crew. They needed me to perfect this move. And do you know I broke a bone trying to learn how to break dancing? Mm-hmm. And my mother said, son, it's going to break you to learn how to break. And that stuck with me, right? Because the very difficult thing that I was trying to learn to do, it almost broke me, right? Physically and mentally, but guess what? Spiritually, I was so inclined to do it. And do you know, I went and got a cast on my arm, came back and did the same move all over again in the middle of Main Street. And everybody was like, look at the kid with the cast doing that move. Mm. He's amazing. And so there are going to be people who are fascinated and even people who will celebrate you because you've shown your wounds. You showed how you failed, but yet you got back up and you have scar tissue. But guess what? You're successful. Mm-hmm. So I don't want to hold the whole line hostage, but I think that's just part of it. You got to fail forward.
Can you still do that move today?
I know. I was going to say, can you do that move today, Dr. Bishop? We got to see it now.
Hey, listen, I'm doing it, but it's called boots on the ground. Where the fans at?
But no, that is so good. That is so good because when we're creating our next, that's where in the church we would say our testimony, mm-hmm. and we tell our testimony, and it encourages others. You know, that's why it's important that we do that and we have that transparency. Not this, just that it helps us and someone could come alongside us and say, hey, let me show you how to do it. But also it helps those that you may not even know are looking at you or are inspired by you. You don't have to be on this platform that we're on in order to inspire other people. You inspire people on your job. You inspire people, in your day-to-day in the grocery store. So that is very, very important and what you said, that is so good. So good. Anybody else? Stacy, Pam?
Well, I mean, I think it's a matter of really learning. Again, we had talked about learning and getting the guidance and the coaches to surround you as you go through learning from the process of failing with that. I always say, I think we had talked a little bit about pivot before in the last segment, is that if the door doesn't open, it's not your door. You need to keep going and then find out what that is. You may fail the first time. You may fail the second time. I mean, they always say, Edison, how many times did he take to really get a functional light bulb, a gazillion different times. So really, that keeping learning, learn from your mistakes, but don't keep making the same one. Get some guidance, get a coach, learn how to be successful. I think that's kind of the message is that here is really, you're going to fail. You're going to break. Things are going to happen. Don't be discouraged and keep moving.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I would take that and say, going back to what you said about your ego, that's within you. That's personal. So you got to go back to that mind garbage that I was talking about. Like, what is it about you that when you get in a space of failure or get in a space of whatever that's not going right, that you go and hide or that you may not see yourself as this? You got to work out those negative mindsets so that it doesn't allow you to then get stuck. The key to all of this is take the hits and keep moving.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's That's really, really good. And there's two more mistakes that I see quite often. And it kind of goes back to something that you said, Pam. If that door doesn't open, then that means it's not your door. A lot of times we are getting a mistake that we make in creating our next is that we are trying to create somebody else's next, not our next. It's what we see them doing, what we heard them say, and we getting our neck broke because we over here trying to do somebody else's next. Now, when I said that, Dr. Bishop, I saw you like, yes, you want to weigh in? You want to weigh in on that one?
I mean, it's okay to, care about other people's dreams and be those dream merchants. But I do believe that everyone needs to dream for themselves in a sense too. Because there's this thing I tell people, you can always call on somebody who won't help you because you're too busy helping them, right? And that's a struggle for me because you want acceptance. Everyone wants acceptance, but when are you going to accept yourself, right? There's this self-sabotaging behavior where you don't do self-care for you, right? And it's self-defeating. So I believe everyone needs to take time to, be on the receiving end. A lot of people will give, and never get. And this is a world of go-getters. Some people will sit back and wait on it to come. No, man, you got to go get it. And that's just part of life. And it's okay. It's nice to be important, but it's more important to be nice, right? You can go out here and do great things for a lot of people, but when are you going to be on the recipient end of that grace and that space is what I'm just challenging people to understand.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. So making sure that we are sticking with what our next is and not their next. That's remember I said it was two mistakes that I see. That's one. The other one that I see, excuses. So the excuses take us out real bad. I mean, real bad. So we could literally get a coach. And the person that's doing what it is that you want to do, and they're telling you, well, no, you have to do this and this. And every third word, well, I can't, because my foot hurt. And then you either want progress or excuses, but you can't have both. You can't have your next and your excuses. We have to choose. Is that something I see everybody nodding with me? Is that something that you guys have heard, like the excuses or what are actually, let me ask this in a better question. What are some of the common excuses that we often make as we are thinking about or trying to create our next?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, what I see is a lot, of course, as a financial advisor, I haven't got the money. I can't do this. I can't do that. I'm too broke. I got to do this first, whatever. And that's where the planning comes to place with a professional. Okay, what do I want to do? What does that next look like? And what are the resources you need in order to get there without the excuses that I'm never going to have the money, I'm too broke, I'm too poor, whatever. You need to learn what it is that you want, what it looks like, and what is the dollar amount or the cost of it. And then you devise a plan or a strategy without all of the excuses that I don't have the money, I ain't got this, I got that. Nobody in my family ever did this, whatever the excuses are. But that's what I see a lot.
Go with that time. I don't have time. So everybody gets the same 24 hours. Everybody might have to work a 9 to 5 while they're working on their dream. And then eventually your dream will manifest itself to such a point where it can replace your 9 to 5. But you got to figure out what you want to do and how you want to do it, and then put the time to do it. Because, time management is totally up to you. It leads to procrastination when you have those kind of beliefs. And the underlying of that is just the fear. You just fear to step out there and want to do something different.
That's it.
Yeah. I want to add to that as well is that, with the time factor is that, the time is going to pass away anyway. And that was really got me with during COVID. I mean, we weren't doing anything but in our house, basically 24/7. There was so many excuses I had. You could finish the certificate program, get the degree, whatever. That was the time to really manifest some things, put it into place, because you had plenty of time. But that's what I see a lot is like the time is going to pass away anyway. It's like, I need this other certification to get to this next you're going to be 5 years older anyway. It's going to happen. Within that 5 years, you could have 2 certificates, 2 degrees, whatever. It's going to pass away anyway. So time is never an excuse.
Time waits for no one, Sugar. But we have to take a little time right now, and we have to take a very quick break, Sugar. But do not move. Hold your pen, hold your pad, because we are coming back with some action tips that you can use to help you start creating your next. After the break, in a moment.
What's up, y'all? Look, Fanbase is more than a platform. It's a movement to empower creators, offering a unique opportunity for everyday people to invest in Black-owned tech, infrastructure, and help shape the future of social media. Investing in technology is essential for creating long-term wealth and influence in the digital age. The Black community must not only consume tech, we must own it.
Discover how equity crowdfunding can serve as a powerful tool for funding Black businesses, allowing entrepreneurs to raise capital directly through their community through the Jobs Act.
Welcome back, Sugar. Okay, so we've shared a lot of great information today, okay, about creating our next. But what good is information without activation? And this is my coach coming out. I like to see some movement. I like to see some activation. So I think it would be good for us to share 1 or 2 just action steps that everyone watching can begin doing right now, today, to begin creating their next. Anyone jump in, 1 or 2 action steps that you would give.
I think everything begins and ends with you. So the first thing you need to do is sit down and create a list of the skills or the goals or the things that you want to work on. It don't have to be the exact, just brainstorm and just throw everything on the list and then start that process of elimination to help you determine what you want to work on next.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely.
I think you need to reframe your thoughts, and that starts with words of affirmation. You know, when you get up in the morning, begin to meditate and speak power into your day, and then you begin to shift your energy of how you start. It's amazing how many people are probably challenged with not knowing their now, let alone trying to figure out their next. And your now is part of your thinking. And so I want you to begin to practice more positive affirmations about you, right? Making sure you put power into your breakfast, power your day up, and let everyone know, I figured out something about myself. I'm powerful. If you start with that, that's a great start.
Throw a little gratitude in there too. So
Yes.
You're affirming yourself and then start being thankful for what you already have.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That attitude of gratitude will go a long way. And it'll help you get out of what we were talking about earlier, the fear. Because once you take your eyes off of your fear and put it onto your faith, basically, in that gratitude piece, you will be amazed at the things that you'll just start doing just automatically just from practicing that gratitude. Oh, yeah, that's so good. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's, with my clients and with my mentees as well, kind of the SMART goals, is it specific? Is it measurable? Is it actionable, realistic, time bound? Going through each of what your next is and putting it in that framework will really determine what types of steps you need in order to get there. Again, as a financial advisor, does it have any money or financial implications involved? What does that look like? What is the time frame you need in order to do it? Maybe you need to, do your side hustle for another 2 years in order to make your next happen. But during that time period, what do you need to accumulate in terms of cash flow in order to replace your 9-to-5, your side hustle to your 9-to-5? So that may be something that is measurable. I need X amount of dollars within a 2-year period in order to convert my side hustle to my 9-to-5. That's going to be in that SMART goal framework in order to get there.
Yeah. Yeah. That's really, really good. And as you were talking, Pam, it made me think about some of the things that are happening now, just kind of nationally, where there's been such a upheaval. Things are just catching a lot of us off guard. But one of the things that's happening is that there are a number of federal workers, Department of Education, that are losing their jobs. I mean, and these are, been with the company 10 years, 20 years. And so we're not talking about just in their 20s or 30s. We're talking, I'm seasoned in my career. And so they are at that point of, okay, what's next? Okay. So in thinking about the viewers that may find themselves in that situation, what is something that you would, an action step or even encouragement that you would give them to say, hey, if I were in that spot right now, this is what I would do, or here's where you would start, and then to kind of help them put together a plan, because that can be a very lost situation, to find yourself in. So what would you all say to someone that may find themselves in that situation today?
Well, I think it's again taking an assessment of where you are. It happened. You have to kind of deal with it. It's just like, mourning a loss. You had a job for a certain period of time. You have to give yourself some time to kind of go through the emotional part of it as well, because, you go to the job one day and unfortunately you get a pink slip and then the next day you're not. So it is going to be some emotional. But once you kind of get through the emotion pieces, that take an assessment. Where am I in my career? Can I still use the skills that I have in order to parlay that into another career, or do I need to retool in order to move forward with that next? Am I at a point where perhaps I don't want to go back to work? Am I at a point where I can retire? What does that look like? What resources do you have in place? Do I have enough reserved in cash reserve? Do I have enough in my 401k? What do my benefits look like? That's another assessment. So it's really right now assessing what do you want, which way you want to go first. Do I need to retool in order to continue work, or do I want to retire? And then what does that look like as an assessment? What are the things I need to know in terms of my Social Security benefits, my pension, my investments? Can it happen? And then really consult a professional to kind of go through it with you once you've taken assessment on which direction you want to go.
Mm-hmm.
I would tell you that. Go ahead, sister.
I was just going to say, I agree with Pam. You just got to research the shift. So everything is shifting. Where is it shifting to? Because somebody's going to have to do something to wherever it lands. So as we are assessing where these shifts are going, then align yourself. Can I align myself to this new space? So when you talk about the Department of Education, you got all these homeschool co-ops popping up and all these different, it's just being redefined, and it's starting to look different. Can I align myself to any of those spaces and with my current skill set, and then start preparing myself to do so? So, but you do have to deal with that emotional piece first. So you got to get over, this happened to me. I'm upset about it happened to me and how it happened to me. Breathe through it, work through it, and then keep moving.
I'm so glad you said grief, right? Because grief is the loss of anything. And certain churches, or some churches, have grief counseling. And so I would tell you that if you go to a church that has a grief counselor, get that grief counseling, but also increase your prayer life. The same God that gave you that opportunity that just has just terminated or been that let you go, same God can give you another opportunity. But here's the shift. Think generationally. One seed, one plants the seed, one water, and then one gets the fruit. In life, I've had to learn that jobs will lay you off.
Mm-hmm.
I've been laid off twice until one day I woke up and said, you know what? I'm a third generation entrepreneur. And so the same time that I was investing in a company, I started investing in myself. Invest in yourself and think generationally that it may be a company that you will start, that your children's children will inherit. And here's another thing that was a part of my pivot when I got laid off. I started volunteering.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's crazy, right? You telling me to volunteer and I'm trying to look for my next check? When you volunteer at food banks or volunteer at those other networks, guess what? Other people who have companies, who have a heart of philanthropy, they're actually there volunteering as well. They may see your work ethic at the food bank or at the shelter and say, hey, tell me about your background. And next thing you know, you land you another opportunity. There's so many ways to get back up again. All I'm telling you is just get back up. Don't lay around. Don't sit around. Don't fall into depression. Just know that God can do what he said he'll do. And guess what? You will wake up one day and say, he did it again. And hopefully he'll do it for generations to come.
Absolutely. Can we pass the collection plate, please? Go ahead and pass the collection plate because but I love everything that you said. And that was actually going to be my takeaway, for everyone is to get a coach. I will say that till I'm blue in the face, get a coach, get a therapist and a coach, because a coach can help you save a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of mental frustration and emotional strain when creating your next, and I'm not saying this just, she say that all the time because she's a coach. No, sugar. When I lost my job, when the rug was pulled from up under me and I had to think about what was next, I'd spent all of this time building this career and these more degrees than a thermometer. And it's like, wait a minute, what am I going to do? The first thing I did was get a coach. Fran, she helped me to shift my mindset, and do all the things that we've just talked about, but not just so that I can start creating my next, but so that I could be ready to truly receive the next that God had in store for me. So sometimes when we're talking about creating our next, it's not just, what's the next thing that I'm going to do? It's also, what's the next version of me that is going to, come forward. So I love everything that you said, Dr. Bishop, and volunteering. Yes, I did that, did that too. Spending that time in prayer, giving yourself the space to feel what you feel and grieve, and making sure that you are researching the shift. Yes, things are no longer happening over here, but that does not mean that God is not moving. We just got to look and say, okay, well, where he moving me to, and make sure that we are in the flow of the shift and we are ready to continue to create our next in alignment with what he's doing in the earth. Look, Dr. Bishop, you done took me to church, took us to church. This is so good. Okay, so Sugar, I hope you have your pen and your pads and you've taken these amazing notes down, because I told you I had my heavy hitters. Sugar, I told you we had our heavy hitters with us today. All right. Now, Sugar, we have to take one more break, but when we come back, I will give my reflection after the break. Stay tuned, Sugar.
Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase. Listen to what I'm about to tell you. The window to invest in Fanbase is closing. We've raised over $10.6 million of our $17 million goal. That means there's room for less than 6,370 people to invest in Fanbase for the average amount. The minimum to invest in Fanbase right now is $399. That makes you an owner in Fanbase today. Go to startengine.com/fanbase to invest. Why? Because current social apps have taken advantage of users for far too long, with content suppression, shadow banning, harmful racist content, and no real tools for monetization and equity. Fanbase has over 1.4 million users and counting, allowing anyone to reach all their following and monetize their content from day one. Social media is the new TV, and whoever owns the apps that distribute that content have the opportunity to own potential billion-dollar companies. While big platforms with uncertain futures are failing to serve their users, Fanbase is stepping up to fill the gap. Don't wait until it's too late. Invest now, invest for yourself and your future. Go to startengine.com/fanbase and own the next generation of social media.
Welcome back, Sugar. Now, Sugar, our experts today, gave us some valuable information and tangible action steps for you to begin creating your next today. I mean, getting a vision, making a plan for your finances, reframing your thoughts, failing forward, failing fast, learning how to get up. Sugar, all of that will help you begin creating the next that you want to see in your life. So, Sugar, no excuses. Today is the day that you start moving and take the action now that will create the next that you want to see. Thanks for joining us today, Sugar. Until we see you next week, take care.